Hey guys, Montel here, and thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. And I'm coming to you today from the Long Beach, California Convention Center, where I was the keynote speaker at the Cannabis Science Conference here, and had an opportunity and have an opportunity to meet with a lot of different guests and people who are here studying and learning about cannabis, and and some of the new scientific breakthroughs. But we also get a chance to talk to some people who are working on other initiatives. Being a part of Let's Be Blunt, I like to be blunt enough to bring you information that'll help you make a decision and help make a good choice for yourself if you happen to visit dispensaries or things like that. But I also want to give you information about other substances that are sprouting up right now, and ways that are different ways of people addressing their personal need for, let's call it, emotional evolution. I mean, that's probably about the best way I can say it, is evolution. And today, I'm really interested in talking to a guest of ours that happens to be here at the conference. Guest today was born and raised in the Amazon jungle of Peru. He comes from a family of healers and was taught by his grandfather how to use natural tobacco to eliminate accumulated negative and harmful energy, which is causing disharmony for a person and their space. He's joined here today with his partner, who's an herbalist and healer for many years herself, and together they run the Shabeta Healing Garden. Asheninka Mino
Yes.
and Bernadette Torres. Thanks so much for being a part of Let's Be Blunt with Montel.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Look, and Bernadette's going to do some translation for Mr. Mino, and so let's jump right into this, because this is very interesting to me. I'm studying and reading about, and you're teaching me about something that's called the practice of natural tobacco as a healing agent. And I think that, my listeners might think that that's really counterintuitive. Explain to me the history of natural tobacco. Let's talk about that first. Why is natural tobacco, we've been taught in the last 30, 40 years in America that tobacco is bad, tobacco is bad, tobacco is bad. Mm-hmm. But there are some medicinal and, I guess, some good components of tobacco that we don't know about. Explain this to me.
Él quiere saber más sobre tabaco.
Hay una mirada comercial, hay una mirada desde otra cultura, ¿no?
So there's the commercial look at it, and then there's also his cultural look at it.
Esa mirada desde mi cultura es para el trabajo de sanación.
So from his culture, it's used for healing.
Hay dos partes en este uso. Hay una parte del uso físico, hay otra parte del uso espiritual.
So there's the physical use for healing, and there's also the spiritual part.
Okay, let's just talk about the spiritual or the physical part of using tobacco. What are the healing components? Do you understand?
El mismo uso, porque esto dentro de las familias de mi comunidad es muy natural trabajar con el sherry, ¿no? En el sherry para poder bañarse y limpiar todo lo que se necesita, pero hay situaciones que es un poco más que no está al alcance de la familia para la sanación, entonces se recurre a un sheripiari. Esto es quien hace la limpieza mucho más alta cuando ya la familia dice, oh, no puedo, necesito a alguien más. Entonces, ese es el rol que hace el sheripiari para poder limpiar, quitar esas situaciones energéticas que no se necesitan en el cuerpo.
So he's talking about in their community, their culture, everybody works with natural tobacco. Like if somebody's not feeling good, they'll get the tobacco, and they have different ways of using it on the physical body for physical ailments.
Not only smoking.
Not just smoking.
Okay.
They do use the smoke, but they don't inhale it. They use the smoke to blow onto the person. But they call in a sheripiari, which is what Mino is, and what that translates to is the man who works with the tobacco. They'll call in a sheripiari when there's something spiritually or emotionally, something that you can't take a picture of and see in the body, but it's happening anyways. People are coming to them with pain, or they're suffering in some manner that doctors can't identify. So the Sheripiare is able to use the tobacco smoke, and it's not just smoke. They use baths and they use paste and different parts of the tobacco to help create balance in the person's body.
It's so similar to, in some ways, it's similar to the way cannabis is used. I mean, cannabis is
Exactly.
not only used as a smoke, but we have oils and we have tinctures and we have ways to rub it on the skin.
Yeah.
So I mean, we should think about tobacco that way.
I think so. Well, here is what I am seeing with the parallel of cannabis and tobacco. Tobacco has a bad reputation.
Cannabis has a bad reputation,
Yeah,
supposedly.
yeah, and tobacco has been chemicalized. It's been domesticated. So many chemicals thrown in it, and so people who are using tobacco are feeling the effects of the chemicals. They're not feeling the effects of natural tobacco. Natural tobacco, you cannot abuse it. It's very difficult to abuse because it's so powerful, and the things that it makes you witness or see is going to be different than if you were smoking just regular cigarettes.
Some cigarette out of a drugstore.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So now explain to me the whole process of how you prepare yourself for these healing sessions so people can come to Mino and say, I've really been depressed, or I've really been anxious, or I'm feeling very nervous.
Yeah.
So what does he have to do? How does he prepare to treat and interact with a person?
Yeah. So first of all, the way that he takes care of himself before a session is he will prepare the space, he prepares the altar, and then he will blow tobacco smoke all over the whole space. He will blow it all over himself. And if I'm going to be in the space, then I get tobacco blown on myself also.
And that's not, he's not inhaling.
He's
just
not
putting it in his
inhaling.
mouth and blowing it out.
Yeah, he's just pulling the smoke in, and then he blows it out on now during the pandemic, we don't have people in our space. We've been doing long distance. So he has these dolls that were made in his community, and that's what he uses to represent the person. He also needs a person's name at birth, any significant name changes, the date of birth, and their physical address. Those are the 3 pieces of information that help him identify the person so that the remote healing goes to that person. That person needs to be in their own space, not with their animals, not with a partner. They need to be alone in that space. It's okay if they fall asleep, but if they want to meditate, that's okay too. And sometimes I tell people, if you have a partner or you want to be with that person after the session, you wait at least 45 minutes to an hour, and then your own body will tell you, okay, I'm pretty sure this is done. And then you can go lay in that space with your partner.
Explain the experience. So again, Mino prepares his space. And again, because of the pandemic, the person's not physically there with him.
Yes.
So now the other person, they should prepare a space for themselves.
Yes, a meditative space, or however you do your own prayers, or, whatever creates protection around you and opens you up so that you're receptive.
Okay. And then that person is sitting there and they're doing this across computer screens. So they're watching Mino.
They're actually not watching Mino.
Okay.
What happens is I call people up. I do a guided meditation that helps create more of the energetic space. I help them connect to their breath, and then we use the breath to create an energetic field, and then I connect them to a body of water. And it's whatever comes into their own mind. Sometimes it's a river, sometimes it's an ocean, sometimes it's a pond. But that body of water is significant to the person. And then that body of water, so when they're laying there by themselves, they can see themselves going to the body of water and placing all the things they want to let go of. So that if you don't want to share that personal information, or you feel traumatized by something, you don't have to share that information with us. You put it into the body of water and you ask that be healed. And then the next morning, I call you up and I tell you the summary of what he found in your body, and you'll be able to go, ooh, that is exactly where I've been feeling this pain. This is exactly where I've been feeling this dysfunction. Oh, that was an old injury that I had. And sometimes during those sessions, he'll have dreams that he doesn't understand, but I record them. And then the person, when I call him back, will go, oh, I know where that is. Oh, I know who that was. And it's related to what they put into the basket or what they're trying to heal.
Wow. And then they're not physically putting something into a basket. They're emotional.
It's the imagination.
It's their imagination.
Or
absolutely.
what I call it, the sacred imagination, because you're using your own mental power.
Sure. I mean, I think it's, I've been involved in, neuromodulation, and during some of the neuromodulation sessions that I had to do, I literally, part of my neuromodulation guided meditation is literally sitting in a river.
Ooh.
Like, I like to sit in a river, and then as the water runs by me, though I'm not physically sitting in a river, I literally, as a leaf goes by, I grab a leaf and I put something on that and let that wash down the river,
Oh,
and
you're
wash
already,
away.
yeah, good.
And it really is that has been for me one of the easiest. The one that I like the most is imagine sitting on the top of a cliff that's a waterfall.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sitting at the edge of the waterfall, looking down in the valley and looking at the waterfall below me. So as leaves come by, I can grab one, put something on it, drop it, and let it go over the waterfall and splash down at the bottom and run down the river and go away.
Beautiful.
And that's been, I can really literally tune into that to the point that, everything else goes away.
Yeah.
It's been one of the, and I'm using a neuromodulation tool at the same time. And that modulation tool is sending a signal through the tongue into the brain.
Oh.
And I literally imagine that, for myself with MS, that my illness is washing away. So you wash that away. So the difficulty that I've had walking washes away.
Yeah.
Is this kind of where this thought process is?
Yes, very much like that. Now that's beautiful that you're able to recognize that you can use your mind to do that. There are a lot of people who are like, my imagination, poo-poo. We don't believe in the imagination.
The power of your imagination.
Yeah.
And, people don't understand, the power of your thought.
Yes.
And, your thought does manifest in the physical world.
It absolutely does. Well, the cool thing about the meditation is that a lot of times it will make people fall asleep. So even though they can't use their imagination, but they will relax into a state where they will fall asleep, which is good because then they're receptive. And then they'll be surprised the next morning when I give them the summary of where this energy was found in their body. And you don't have to tell us anything. You don't have to tell us your dysfunction, your ailments, your emotional traumas. We even will encourage you not to share with us so that you will recognize this, this really, the spirits were really there doing the work.
And for Mino, like, what does he feel? I mean, like, if, let's say you were doing a session with me, does he feel the physically? Does he feel the manifestation of what's bothering me?
He does. So there's been times where he'll tell me before I call the person up, he'll say, ask them if they have something going on in their eye. Is there something going in their lower back? Ask them if they're feeling something in their stomach. And sure enough, I'll say, hey, is this going on with you? And the person will respond positively. Yeah. And
then at the same time, let's go back to the natural tobacco. He is utilizing walk me through that process.
So he starts with the tobacco. He actually has a whole altar that's set up, and the fire's really important because when he's working, drawing that energy out, he's placing it in the fire. Now, the person on the other end, I instruct them to whatever they're pulling out, whatever they want to release and transform, they're putting in the water. So we're working with fire and water. And then while he's doing that, he also works with obsidian eggs, and those clear the lineages because a lot of times what we're carrying isn't our own programming.
Right.
Yeah, this comes from, our father, our mother's lineage, and some things from childhood that we don't remember, like birth. And so those things get cleared. And so those eggs, when he puts them down, they'll either flip to the right, they'll flip to the left, they'll do this wiggling business. All of those signify something. And so when it's over, I will tell you what the eggs did, and then you'll confirm to me, yes, that's what happened. So if there was some kind of trauma, it'll throw it. If there was a masculine authority in your life who caused a trauma, or if there's something mental going on where people are losing their ability to use their brain, their nervous system, the brain will do a wiggle on top. And so they either end up with like Parkinson's or, anything with the nervous system.
Wow.
Yeah, or the brain. It could even be psychological. It can be, psychosis.
How was, can you explain his training? And was this from relatives? Was it family passed down? Talk a little bit about that for me.
Yeah, he was trained by his grandpa, Kensi Kwari. Kensi Kwari was a well-known healer in the central jungle of Peru in a region called Maranquiari. People would travel for days to come see his uncle. And when they couldn't because they were sick, or they would send messages. And so his grandfather would sit there and do this work. And he would pull Mino aside, since he could sit there and pay attention. He would sit him next to him, and Mino would observe. So it's oral teaching. He was taught watching.
And back then, I'm sure that the people that some of them would send messages, others would physically come to be with the grandfather, right?
Yeah.
And so Mino got an opportunity to observe all that.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, now tell me a little bit about, is ayahuasca used also in this process? Or any of the psychedelics?
Yeah. In Mino's culture, then what we call ayahuasca, the name for it is kamarampi. Kamarampi is not used to travel or do, what we do this mental cleansing or emotional cleansing. In their culture, they only use it twice a year after the rains. They use it to clear their bodies of any toxins that have accumulated over, those seasons. So they only use it twice a year for cleansing the body. Now, what we like to do with these sacred plants so that we can have these, journeys.
Psychedelic journeys.
Yeah.
Okay.
They use tobacco. Tobacco does, so the effects that he gets similar to us would be from tobacco.
And is that just from being blown on you, or is that from actually
It's from
inhaling
him working, the way he works with it. He's in an altered state. When I'm there standing next to him, he can sometimes not hear me. I have to get his attention because he's in a trance, like not completely out of this world. I mean, he's not going to, if the house is burning down, he's going to know it and he's going to come out of it. But he goes into a really concentrated state. And he tells me afterwards he feels like he's buzzing. He feels vibration moving through his body.
And you've been doing this for how long has he been doing this? How long have you been doing this?
¿Cuántos años están haciendo este trabajo con Sherry?
Aquí, por respeto a la cultura, aquí desde el año 2009 tenemos
So
como
here
16
in the
años.
United States, he's been doing it since 2009.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many, now are people aware of this? Where do they go to get more information about this? It's fascinating.
Yeah, you can go to our website, and
which is?
And it's Shabeta, www.shabeta, SHABETA.com. And so it'll give you information about what we do, and talks a little more about his relationship with his grandparents and how he's worked with this. In their community, they work with the tobacco in much stronger ways than what we can handle, what our culture can handle. So they use a paste, and they will put it in their mouth, and then the person lays naked on the ground, and they will spit the tobacco all over their body. But because of our culture and our violation, rules and laws and everything that's happening, you have to, out of respect for how, we're different.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
But now, how do you translate that into this culture? So
Yeah.
instead of spitting it on you, would you make a paste out of it and rub it on the person?
Well, he actually doesn't work with the paste with people here. And he'll do another one called lagrimas, where he makes a liquid and then we inhale it, and that helps to cleanse the body, and it will have some effects, but it all depends on the person.
Wow. And then now again, distant treatments.
Mm-hmm.
So he sends that to the person ahead of time, or is that something that
That's separate. You come to us in New Mexico, and we set up a group healing, and we do it in a group.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And are there other methods? So there's the paste, there's the liquid,
there's I call them tortas. So he makes this little, almost like crackers, and he does that with the tobacco, and it's a whole process. It takes him like a month to make them, and then you cut little biscuit pieces. They're very, very small, and you consume them, and you feel drunk from eating it, but it's a cleanser. It cleanses the body of toxins, any environmental, recreational, toxins in our body.
It's so insane. I mean, I've never experienced tobacco like that.
Mm-hmm. I didn't experience it either. And when I first met Mino, it freaked me out. And I was one of those people that, pew, I don't want to smell the tobacco around me. But it's not the way that he grows it. We grow it. the way that it's grown, no chemicals. It has a different smell to it. It doesn't linger. I know that some people will smell it on me. If you come right after a session, you'll smell it on me, but it doesn't linger. We've been doing it in the home that we live in the bedroom, and the bedroom doesn't smell like tobacco. So it clears out. Whereas if you were a smoker, your car smells like smoke, your clothes smell like smoke.
Sure. And that's because of some of the other chemicals that are in there,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about what there are. You said it earlier. You talked about feminine and masculine, tendencies or energies in plants, similar to energies in people. What is that, and why is that so important? Explain it to me. So tobacco has a feminine and masculine component.
Well, what I'm understanding, and this is my understanding right now, and I always tell people, I've known Mino for 16 years. So I feel like I'm a 16-year-old, like a teenager who's learning this information. And what I understand right now is that some people consider tobacco a masculine energy. But when I met Mino, the very day that I met Mino, I had what people would call a spell or a fainting spell. And I went into a vision, and I met a goddess, a beautiful Indian goddess. Her upper body was huge, naked, breasted woman, and the bottom half of her was the ruins. It could have been Machu Picchu. I've never been there, so I don't, know what the ruins look like, but she had a half of her body was ruins. She had her arms open up to me like in a welcoming, come here. And she was talking to me in an indigenous language. Now, I didn't understand the words, but I felt them. And I understood her to be telling me, come to us. We want to teach you something. So she called herself an us. Come to us. We have things to teach you. Then I didn't understand it in that moment. It was only after studying with him for so many years that I recognized that this vision was, the tobacco coming to me and saying, I'm going to, I want you to know these. I want you to learn these things so that you can share it with other people. We don't do any advertising. The only way people know about us is through word of mouth. That's how we have, been doing this since 2009.
And we're spreading the word right now.
Yeah, except for now.
yeah, for sure. So now, I'm sure there's a cost, and I'm not saying that negatively.
No.
But so people can contact you through your website.
Yeah.
They can enroll in. Is it a scheduled kind of series of courses, or they schedule something for themselves?
I talk to them on the phone, and we talk about what I understand from the experience that I've had. I'll tell them this will be useful to you, and most of the time I tell people, go look at our webpage, go read it, look at Mino, look at me. Do you feel like you resonate with us? Are you feeling like called to do this? Many times people have dreams about a hummingbird or jaguar. Those are the spirit and the messenger of tobacco. And a lot of times they'll come in dreams to you to tell you, yeah, this is some work that'll be useful and helpful to you. If people choose to come work with us, we truly don't charge. We ask for an offering, because people all say, well, what if you were charging? What would you charge? And I say, well, this is an offering. You make an offering. We don't want to charge, but we're giving a lot of time to doing this. So
absolutely.
We just
be compensated.
Yeah,
no question.
Yeah, and so that's basically what we're doing, is an exchange.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And explain a little bit more to me about there are three parts of human life that you focus in on. You focus on the mother's lineage, the father's lineage, and the person's own childhood lineage.
Yes.
Talk about those three things and why they're different.
Yeah. So if every time I keep little records, because I'm in training, but also it helps me to be able to explain better to people. So the longer I've done this, I've been able to give better explanations. Now, what those eggs do when there's been a trauma, they'll go in the direction to tell, where that trauma occurred. And when he clears them, those lines will be, like a channel to the, because it's cleared. So it's no longer doing these funny business things. Now, when people ask, well, what was that about? He has been trained to not look at images. Like, he's not here to tell you your past. He's not here to tell you what your traumas were. He's been trained to tell you it's been cleared. Don't put any more energy into it. Because the more we think about it, the more we talk about it, we're feeding it. It's like a little seed. And so he'll clear that lineage. And if you start going, oh, my mom was such a cruel mother. She did these.
You start feeding it and it comes back.
And so that line will start going, or those things that we do to ourselves because we're used to that programming in our brains, it'll be re-triggered.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, now, again, where do you live? Do you live here in the States? Or
we live in Albuquerque.
In Albuquerque.
We have a home in Albuquerque right now.
So you don't want people don't come to Albuquerque to your home?
Not unless they talk to me and we have a discussion. That's not going to happen right now because of the pandemic. And we live with a small child, so we don't want to bring energies into the home with this small child. We do have plans to go back to Peru. He has land that he wants to build a home on, and then we want to bring people out to there to do these healing treatments out there when it's possible.
Gotcha. Now, do you utilize cannabis at all, or those are two separate things?
I use cannabis. Mm-hmm. Now, Mino doesn't feel any effects from any other plants. I mean, if I gave him an edible, it would knock him out. But he doesn't have any kind of connection to other plants that he feels really strongly with. It's only tobacco. For me, the connection with cannabis, when I'm doing work with Mino, he's doing the tobacco, and I ingest a little bit of cannabis, I will actually start to feel what the people are going through too. I pick up the feminine energy that is coming through the person. Sometimes I'll have dreams, or I'll just feel the energy that they're feeling in their body, and then I'm able to explain or talk about what's going on with the person.
Wow. Again, give your website one more time. You don't have to say www. Okay. Just give your website one more time.
Shabeta. It's SHABETA.com.
Yeah. So if people want to do a session with you, and that's what we call it, a session.
Yeah. You'll go to the website, and then there's a place where you can put your name in, and then it'll come to my email, and then I'll give you a call, or I'll send you my phone number and tell you call me.
And then you normally say, take a look at us.
Yeah.
I like that when you said that. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Take a look at us. If you think, if we turn you on in a way that you think we're going to help you, then reach out. If not, then skip it.
We don't believe we're the healers. People after a session, they're bowing down to Mino. They're calling him shaman. And he says, don't give me those titles, and, don't give me the thanks. You give the thanks to the poder infinito, the infinite power. People call God, creator, whatever name you use for that source. That's who's doing the work. All we're doing is guiding you to your inner healer, your inner power. That's all that's the only thing we know how to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Has this conference been good for you? Are you presenting?
I love this. We presented just right before we came and saw you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was very beautiful. It was a good turnout. And we were talking to people up to the moment we came to do this interview with you.
Well, I'm glad. I'm so happy for you. And I hope that the word gets out and spread out a little bit more. You've completely changed my mind about tobacco completely. And I'd like to hear, I'm going to go up and take a look at your website and see if I can study and learn a little bit more myself.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so for all of you out there who've been listening to Let's Be Blunt with Montel, you got to imagine that, we have just stayed focused on cannabis, but in the way you've explained tobacco and the fact that most of the tobacco that most people have consumed in North America and around the world has really been chemically laden product that really has nothing to do with what Mino is doing.
Right.
I got to look a little bit more into this and see if I can find out some information for myself.
Yeah. And the other difference is that tobacco, the commercialized tobacco, is meant to make you addicted. Or he doesn't want you to come do session after session after session with him. He wants you to feel that healing as quickly as possible and, just feel empowered and feel imbalanced right away.
Thank you so much for the both of you. And thank you so much for being a part of the show today, sir.
Thank you. Solamente para decirle y mostrarle, este es el tabaco natural. ¿No?
So this is the natural tobacco from our garden.
Esto no está dedicado, solamente.
It's not prayed over yet. It's not dedicated for healing yet.
Está cosechado y secado bajo sombra.
So this has been harvested and it's been dried under the shade.
Pero una vez que esté dedicado, ya sí se puede trabajar de manera energética con esto mismo.
Once he prays over it, then it's ready to be used as healing.
Con algo que se puede poner aquí, luego prenderlo y se puede. No es recreacional.
He's not doing this for recreation, but he's showing you his pipe, and this is what he uses to blow the tobacco smoke.
esto es ya dedicado para poder trabajar, porque no estamos trabajando solamente para una cosita, es energético, es muy fuerte. Entonces, pues varios dicen, pero ¿cómo? ¿Dónde está? ¿Qué es lo que prefieres? ¿Sentirte bien o querer saber qué es? Porque cuando tú le dices, mira, tú has tenido esto, regresa otra vez la semilla acá, regresa. Y
So
crece, 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 otra vez.
he's talking again
Yeah.
about how, when he works with people, they want to know, tell me, like why is that ailment happening? What caused it? They want to know a story. And he says, what do you prefer in your life? Do you prefer to keep on telling the same story over and over again? Or do you recognize it's gone?
Right.
Focus in on it's gone. This is done. It's gone.
Y también preparamos cuando el agüita, porque son una noche de carga energética, un día de carga energética y lo ponemos aquí para poder trabajar, ¿no? Trabajar le decimos oyakishiri, ¿no? Entonces, esto es bastante y está preparado, pues también. Yo he traído solamente una muestra pero no está dedicado. Para trabajar hay que dedicarlo.
So
Directamente, sí.
he's showing you another way that he works with it in groups. He does what they call lagrimas de sheri. In his language, it's called
Oyaki.
oyaki. Yeah, but they use the liquid in this manner in groups. They inhale it, and this clears the toxins out of the body on a physical
Wow.
level. Yeah.
Y
That's
también
incredible.
preparamos cuando es en pasta, ¿no? Entonces
This is the paste,
lo guardamos.
and this is what he stores it in.
Y entonces, pero solamente esto es como para mostrar, pero no lo utilizo aquí.
He
porque
doesn't use this with
por
the people in our
respeto-
culture for
por
respect
respeto
that,
a la cultura,
we're not
sí.
going to take off our clothes and let him
Yeah.
spit all over our body.
Got it.
That's reserved for the people from his culture.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for being a part of the show today.
Thank you too for inviting me.
Absolutely. And for all of you out there, I've got to tell you, there's always something new. And I've just learned a lot new today. So I want to thank you both for being here. I want to thank you also for tuning in for this edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks for joining me on Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback also, so please send us your comments.